Millenium versus the Super Hot Crew, a very, very important clash for both teams. We mentioned it before, if not for Millenium in terms of their survival this year, but to make sure that they gather themselves as a team and really get working. They're also, we should point out here as we get into game, one of the teams that have constantly, throughout the European LCS Spring Split this year, been a bit funky at level 1 and tried some different things.
Yeah, it hasn't worked out for the best in most scenarios, though. That's the other thing we have to call out. Millenium have tried things. They have tried roaming, they've tried invading for buffs, and it's never truly garnered them a large advantage. And one of the reasons I think it hasn't worked out, the game has sort of evolved past that point. Last year, level 1 buff invades and early lane advantages could determine the entire outcome of a game. Less so now in the 2014 season. So Millenium going for the defensive start this time around, and Super Hot Crew, they are the ones I'm expecting to make the first moves because of the champions they have in their favor, and because Impaler will be looking to roam and get in the faces of Shyvana and Rise, who are going to have a difficult time in the early game anyway.
Once again, we see a bit of a move from Millenium. Are they trying to force something here at level 1, or are they going to be putting in a lane swap? Shyvana's still on the top side, but both Jerry and Creaton are headed up past the halfway point, and it looks like Millenium are going to go for an invade. It
looks like it's going to be a straight buff trade, would be my instinct here. Because of Super Hot Crew's positioning on the bottom area of the map, they're going to be moving in together. You can see Mimer's backed away towards his red buff, which will allow him to back away safely if or when Millenium come in, and it is just going to be a delayed invade. So buff trades. The one thing I want to highlight right now, though, as and when engages happen, Millenium have 2 teleports on their side with both Rise and Shyvana. So not only do they have champions that are weaker in lane, they're giving up the kill pressure as they're both going up against Ignites. What it does mean, though, the moment Impaler shows himself, if Millenium are on the ball, Kevin and Kerp could show up in a lane and destroy faces because of that additional global power that they bring.
So we did see the lane swaps coming in. Millenium wanting this 2v1 on the top side. Jerry and Creaton up against Mimer's Renekton. Not wanting to leave Kevin in that 1v1 scenario by the looks of it, or even have the danger of possibly being hooked in there and taken out early on by Mr. Rolls and Mixer.
So 2 reasons for the lane swap. As we've already mentioned, they don't want to put that Renekton versus Shyvana, who's going to be in a poor matchup. In addition, because they're facing off against Millenium, this is something that we say every single time we see an Evelyn. If you force a 2v1, it means Impaler has 2 options. He either goes for the level 3 tower dive, which is looking like he's about to do right now, or he defends with his top laner. We'll need to see if a death sentence can land from Mixer, because without the CC, there's not a lot of strong crowd control underneath this turret. So Mixer needs to connect with Kevin if they want to hold him in place long enough. With Burnout and Flash, Kevin, let's see, what did he actually level up at rank 1? He's got Flame Breath, so he doesn't have Burnout yet, which means he's a little easier to lock down.
And he's going to face check straight in towards Impaler. This could force a flash from Kevin early on. We'll see about that when he does get behind the turret. Being very, very patient there in terms of how he uses those summoner spells. But that turret is going to take a bit of a beating. Meanwhile, Millenium also have 3 men on the top side. That turret a little bit harder to take down, but they're doing a great job so far.
It's actually very impressive from the side of Millenium because they've got the melee support, which means it's more difficult to get the tower. Remember, this is before 8 minutes, so this top tower has damage reduction from champion auto attacks. They trade roughly even, a couple seconds apart. The one thing you do need to highlight, Mimer was playing very, very smart, hiding just on the opposite side of the tree line in range of experience. So yes, he's 2 CS down on Kevin, but he's already hit level 2 and he's still in experience range. So yes, he's losing his towers, but he's making the best of a terrible situation.
And we're going to see the inner turrets now being focused on by both teams. The Super Hot Crew having a good wave of minions. Kevin trying to get in range there to sort something out, but Millenium are going to be taking this turret quicker than what the Super Hot Crew can manage down on the bottom side. The question is now, do they stop or do they keep going?
From what I've seen in the past, both teams will continue until the inhibitor turret, and if any team sticks around on the inhibitor turret, this is the point that now players begin to rotate. Remember, there is teleports on the side of Millenium, so if anybody wants to try and catch them out, they'll be in trouble. Mimer trying to defend his top turret. You can see Super Hot Crew not on the turret yet, so they need to back away. These are the turrets teams defend. And it's an interesting setup. This is something we see from OGN, we've been seeing it from North America, and I always find it's a very explosive start to the game. some more attacks, but it ends up delaying the laning phase because now it's so risky to invade further.
Oh, Selfie going to get jumped on here. He's level 5, got no mana. Well, did have enough there for the command protect. Also had a flash if you really needed to jump away to safety there, but nice positioning, moving through the enemy jungle there, did Cottonex. And actually, Kerp going to go aggressive on towards Selfie once again. Here comes Leona. There's a flash away from the Zenith play.
Yeah, manages to avoid that crowd control. Had J-Ree actually connected, that would have been a dead Selfie and first blood given up. To go back to the map presence point now, both of these teams are most likely going to set their dual lanes against their dual lanes and their top against their top. And because of the teleports on Millenium, if they push a lane, they will have the advantage at continually sieging and pushing down towers. However, Supa Hot Crew, on the other hand, have the factor of Evelyn that needs to be considered. So Millenium need to be decisive in their play or run the risk of getting caught out. As it stands, Millenium onto the first dragon.
Well, if you want to talk about decisive, this certainly looks like it for me. We are going to see Millenium starting off the dragon, but the Supa Hot Crew aren't messing around. Flash play in there from Mixer, and Cottonex going to go low. First blood comes in from Mixer. Don't think he's going to get away. That leaves us at 1-for-1 with the dragon. Still hitting Millenium, and Impaler will pick himself up another one. Can he get away though? He has to turn around, dodges the boomerang. The rest of the Supa Hot Crew coming close, but didn't have the damage to finish anymore.
2-for-1 in favor of the Supa Hot Crew. Millenium just didn't have the damage to burn that dragon down quickly enough. So the dragon was the extra member of Supa Hot Crew who was continually landing attacks onto the Millenium members. They gave up those kills. First blood was secured by Mixer, so at the very least he's going to have a decent gold boost, and the dragon was not secured. So advantage to the Supa Hot Crew as they defended that objective and got themselves kills as well.
Very, very interesting start to this one. We could see there in the mid lane, a lane which, despite those couple of little pushes earlier on and the flash from Selfie, has been relatively quiet. Both players having equal CS there, 42 to 43, slightly in favor of Selfie, who now has himself that chalice and boots. And obviously Kerp working his way, picked up that catalyst first of all with the boots as well. We'll see where he heads next. Gonna have to get started in the tier stacking as well.
Yeah, so talking about the build from Kerp, Defricio and I had a lengthy argument about the decision making of going catalyst before tier. And what it ends up doing is it delays your fully stacked tier by about 5 minutes. So you're only going to get that bonus 750 mana at around 30 minutes as opposed to 25. Now, you could theorize that with Catalyst going Rod of Ages, you're going to have more ability power and HP, making you a little bit of a tankier frontline, but you delay your damage burst. And when I look at a Kha'Zix and a Shyvana, I feel like you don't need to be as tanky on Rise. We'll get to that in a second. Can the hook land? That's the question.
Is he going to throw the hook? That was the
not.
question to ask before that, and he didn't throw it, so no, it can't land. And now we see the Supa Hot Crew with that numbers advantage, all of them down the bottom, starting off the dragon. We've already seen it being a death trap so far.
There is a teleport up for Kevin, so we'll see if he decides to use it. That is a channel. Here comes Millenium.
Here comes the teleport, and it is going to be taken down, actually picked up in the end by Selfie, but they've already lost one man. There's Cottonex taking down Impaler, but Cottonex himself has already gone down. Mixer will fall. Kurt picks up that kill, but look at Crimson and J-Ree. They're getting hammered at the backside, and that is going to be another kill for the Supa Hot Crew. Can they get in towards Kerp? I don't think so. He's got those boots on already, and that in the end will be a 3-4-1.
If Mima was not there in time, that could have been so much different. Mima with Dominus and Cull the Meek was just destroying members of Millenium. It ends up meaning Supa Hot Crew get more kills and the dragon. Basically, as this fight breaks out, you notice on the minimap, Mina is right there. This is a 5-man Supa Hot Crew that a split Millenium are trying to get involved in. Because Kerp is not with the rest of his team with Kevin, Jerry, and Creatin. He's trying to zone out members of Supa Hot Crew. All of his damage was focused elsewhere, was focused on members who didn't have a massive impact on this fight. A very good play there from Mixer, holds people in place, and at the end of the day, because Mima was in the middle with Dominus the entire time, he was a massive determining factor in why that team fight went so well for the Supa Hot Crew.
And it was, of course, a 3-for-2 in the end. I told a couple of porkies in that one, but still a win for the Supa Hot Crew nonetheless, taking the dragon as well. Leaves them 2,000 gold and even a little bit more than 2,000 gold in the lead. The question now is, how are Millenium going to be moving around the map? We can see already that Mixer and Mr. Rolls are coming to middle. Millenium have to move to defend this.
Yeah, I'd like to see Supa Hot Crew using Orianna to zone members of Millenium away from the turrets, and then using the range of Caitlyn to melt those towers down. There's not a lot of auto attack damage on the side of Mr. Rolls. He's currently only got that Vamp Scepter so far, so we'll see how quickly they can take those first tower down. On the top lane, they're going to be diving Kevin. This is going to be hard.
Oh, this could be bad news for Kevin. Mima is 2 levels above him. Impaler does come around, but Kevin did have his flash and is able to get away. Meanwhile, teleport coming in, and we are going to see Kevin coming around. Cottonex is joining in as well. Impaler, the squishy target here, will actually flash over the wall. Cottonex now finding himself a little bit isolated from the rest of his team. Kirk doesn't have the damage to burst down Mima. In the end, they can walk off, but they might rotate and have this middle turret.
I like the thinking from Super Hot Crew. Generally, with so many towers down, teams play passively, and they just farm themselves into the late game. Super Hot Crew are trying to force their hand, diving Millenium under the turret with Evelyn. Because of the positional advantage that they've gained from that top lane dive, it has allowed them to get onto this mid-outer turret. There was no teleports for Millenium. They've been burned in the previous fights, and it means Super Hot Crew grabbed their third and last outer turret away from Millenium.
Nicely done, and let's have a look down some of the CS here as things, hopefully for the Millenium at least, calm down and allow them to farm, because Kevin is currently quite a chunk behind, although we consider he's having some free time up now in that top lane. 62 to 50 CS on that front, mid lane 73 to 70, so they're keeping fairly even. In fact, we do see that Selfie slightly ahead because of that global gold, but the 2 kills for Kerp really keeping him in that matchup.
Yeah, every single member of Super Hot Crew with a kill on the board right now. So going to be using that gold to get themselves as much of an item advantage as possible. And I like the decisive play from the Super Hot Crew. As we talked about, their composition is earlier focused than that of Millenium. So in order to remain relevant as the game scales on in time and in items, the Super Hot Crew have to have a gold lead. If they are not ahead, then their composition is just going to be outscaled by that of Millenium's. With all 3 outer turrets down, Super Hot Crew now need to invest a lot of vision in the jungle of Millenium to continue sieging those inner turrets and prevent being flanked by Shyvana and Kha'Zix respectively.
And I like the fact that they got rid of that pink wall there. It's going to allow Impaler a little bit more freedom to roam around the Millenium jungle, and also stop Millenium really being able to defend quite as well. And speaking of defenses, Selfie and Mixer are moving in. They've got Mr. Rals there with them as well. Only Kerp there for now. Cottonex will come around, but this turret already going to take a lot of damage.
So much damage from the Super Hot Crew that's unanswered. Creatine is trying to push the bottom lane of the minions. There's no teleport from Kevin, so he can't respond. And that was a very smart play from Super Hot Crew because they knew Millenium couldn't respond. It was going to take a large investment of players from Millenium to interrupt that defense, and at the end of the day, Supa could grab 50% of the inner turret's HP down. If they manage to get the same position in the next few minutes, it will secure that tower.
And they need to move here, Millenium, to defend that top outer turret. In fact, the final outer turret left on the map. Kevin going to show himself, and, well, he won't really be able to do anything about this one. He's going to get zoned away, but the rest of Millenium start to come around. They found Mixer in the middle of nowhere. Jerry actually missing the Zenith Blade. He's going to throw down his ultimate, and there is the kill, but the shockwave lands as well. Jerry now going to be the focus target as he flashes away to the back. Cottonex moving in. They've got the rest of the team closing around, and Impaler is going to fall. Clinton gets that one. Selfie gets locked up once again. Cottonex gets that kill. That's a 3-for-0, and the tower lives.
Millenium had a great counterplay. Super Hot Crew trying to force down their top turret, and Mixer was way out of position. He should not have been caught in the river. He was late to the tower push, and what that meant is the Millenium members coming in to try and surround Super Hot Crew just caught him out, focused him down one by one. What I liked was Cottonex diving to the backline and focusing down Selfie. You've seen a very clear focus that Cottonex wanted to get Selfie as low and as away from the fight as possible, while the rest of the Millenium squad stuck with the higher clump numbers of the Super Hot Crew.
Kept trying to get himself a bit of a lead going on farm. It's the top lane that Mima is really running rings in terms of farm over Kevin. But look at the timer in the top left. Dragon is coming up in just a couple of seconds. Mima's already started to move down there. There are a lot of wards being put down from the backside from Millenium. They've got one inside of the Dragon pit itself, so they're going to see Selfie and Impaler doing the Dragon. Now
we need to get Mr. Rolls onto this Dragon to get through quickly enough. Millenium have got to engage quickly if they want to start a fight. They're going for the surround. Dragon's low.
Oh, I think they're going to have to give this one up. Yes, they are. The Super Hot Crew take that one. Smited down in the end by Impaler, and Millenium just weren't quick enough to react there.
The moment to engage was that those last few seconds. As we stopped, taking a look at it, Shyvana had the ability to jump in, actually didn't have Dragon's Descent. And I think because Dragon's Descent was not available and Rise wasn't close enough, that split sort of pincer engage from Millenium was just a little bit too risky. So at the end of the day, they play it safe. probably the smart decision because as far as global gold is concerned, they're not that far behind. It is 1,500, but they've held onto this top outer turret. They've been keeping relatively even in most of the lanes, so you've got to give them credit for that one. It's only Kevin that's hurting a little bit for gold.
And now Mima may get closed in on him. He's not careful there. In fact, it's Siva and Leona coming in. And Selfie going to get jumped on, using a good shockwave. And now the rest of the team starting to move in. Let's say the rest of the team. It's just Mixer, but his presence was enough to force him away. Mr. Ral's here. Can they land everything onto him? They have landed literally everything onto Mr. Ral. You don't escape that kind of lockup.
That one hurt just a little bit. It's not over. It's now Cottonex. It's found Mixer.
Or the other way around even. Cottonex getting a little bit low, and already Kevin was struggling on HP, and with Selfie being there as well, they didn't want to risk that one as Mima and Creaton butt heads in this top lane. Creaton trying to keep that wave as far away from the turret as possible, doesn't want to fall back to it knowing exactly how low that one is. It leaves Millenium 7-5 up in kills, 3-2 still the leading turrets for the Super Hot crew with the Dragons in their favor as well. Only equates to 1,000 gold right now.
So the Super Hot crew, they lost members in the top lane when they tried to push the tower down. They didn't have vision in the river, and they didn't have the greatest vision of Millennium's blue buff jungle, so they got surrounded. A few seconds ago, we see Mr. Ral's being taken down in the mid lane. If you look at the wards for Super Hot crew, they've got the entrances to the river as well as that mid lane warded up, but with a Boots of Mobility Leona, you don't have enough time to get away safely from the range of Solar Flare. So I feel like Super Hot crew need to get more wards in the river to ensure that they don't get caught up, that they don't get flanked by the members of Millennium, who have done this now, repeatedly. They tried it in the Dragon Pit. If you cast your mind back, we did see multiple members of Millennium, one from the top, one from below. So if we get more vision in this river, it's going to give Super Hot crew more information to work with, and I don't think they've got enough wards, so we'll see if they rectify that.
So let's peek at some of the items here now as well. Rise, we mentioned his build earlier on, when that Catalyst before the tier, he's had his Rod of Ages, and that tier now stacking up for a while, and I'm assuming got a decent amount of gold. Yeah, 1,500 gold he's currently sat on, so he'll be able to go home and buy himself up soon. And on the other side, Selfie himself has 1,300 gold that he's been saving up there as well. Kerp, in the meantime, does have that blue buff with him. Also wants to take a bit of a look at the AD carries, because we see 104 there overall for Creaton, 131 to 127 CS. That's Mr. Rawls actually bringing things back somewhat, but because of that global gold, there's a 600 gold lead for Mr. Rawls on Caitlyn. Both of them have a Bloodthirster right now with those Berserker Greaves in there.
Yeah, at this point in time, Creaton is going to be in a better position despite being down on gold. Because of the power of Siva's ultimate that will synergize with the rest of Millennium's composition, you get a lot of unaccounted for gold value in that utility stats. On a champion like Caitlyn, it's something that you see many times. When Caitlyn's got a Bloodthirster and a Zeal or Static Shiv, Phantom Monster for example, she's pretty good at clearing waves, not that great at killing tanks. She needs to get to the 4-5 item build, and for that, Super Hot crew need to give him either more kills or more farm. We do see in the bottom lane, Mr. Rawls, I think he's going to die.
Well, he might not get either of them here, as everything again he's thrown at Mr. Rawls. I don't see him escaping it either. Jerry's actually tanking up a lot of damage. He's going to go down. Poorly executed there. Not sure why he didn't go topside. Meanwhile, Creaton beat Dofia in the top lane as well. Mima going to take a lot of damage, but there's the double teleport once again. Kerp comes flying out with their own guns. Impaler takes a lot of damage, but there's the shockwave. It's been turned around. The shutdown comes in, and now they're going back in for Creaton. Mima goes a little bit too far, has to flash out. What a turnaround.
Yeah, at the end of the day, Super Hot crew are backing away quickly enough to negate the power of those teleports. Cottonex fancies a chance. He's coming in with Kha'Zix from the side. We'll see if Millennium can make anything happen. They've got a lot of distance to cover.
Mima's low, but I don't think low enough now. And we saw that Cottonex didn't really fancy that one. That puts Millennium 8-7 up now in kills. Gold is still not that much of a difference, and with that last fight and the different items that we've seen coming in, there's a Zeal now for Creaton. We can see that the Archangel staff was completed by Kerp despite not being fully stacked just yet. They may feel strong enough to fight now when this next dragon comes up in a minute.
I like the fact that Kerp has finished that Archangel staff quite early. It's currently got 400 mana out of the potential 750. He is at the 20-minute mark, but because he's upgraded it a little bit earlier, it is going to stack faster. So we may see Kerp still hitting that 25-minute power spike. And with the teleport, when Kerp decides to go for those teleport ganks, we've seen Risers with teleport and Home Guard boots motoring after that TP finishes to lock somebody up and blow them up. I am expecting a similar thing from Kerp. The one thing you do have to highlight, that was a double teleport top lane that didn't actually garner Millenium a massive advantage. They held onto the turret. I think that's very crucial to admit. They gave up a kill, but they held onto the turret. So they haven't opened up the complete top half of their map for Supa Haku to invade and roam around. And that's the third attempt, I think I'm going to say, that Supa Haku have made for that turret and have not succeeded in taking it down.
Yeah, and I just noticed when I said they're running out here with the home guards going, that was just Kurt with his ulti going and the ultimate from Creatine as well that gave him that speed. So we'll see, imagine how that's going to be a little bit later on should they get involved. Dragon has now spawned. We've seen a few wards being cleared out. Supa Haku got positional advantage for now.
Supa Haku do not want to get caught by a multi-man solar flare because that is going to be a very powerful locker. Mimer's miles away. Millenium have got in.
Oh, the shockwave was absolutely horrible as well from Selfie. Didn't get anyone, and now Cotonex and Kevin are in there. Selfie's going to go down. Mr. Rolls gets locked up. This is 2 kills coming in for Millenium, and they're not done just yet. The Zenith play doesn't quite land, but Mixer's running into no man's land here. Creatine will get that one. That's 3 for basically no health even from Millenium. They're going to get their first dragon of the game.
You cannot afford to go for a pincer engage against a team with Siva and Shyvana and Kha'Zix. The moment you show that your forces are split, Millenium are going to pick one target and run you down. Mimer was in the middle lane. Now look at the positioning on the minimap. Mimer is 1.5 miles away from this engage. The shockwave may have bought some time, but the fact that it hit no one means that Supa Haku is in even worse position. The very mobile, fast-moving members of Millenium just run down the high-priority targets. You've got an AD carry and an AP carry alone. They've got no one to peel for them. They've got no one to protect them. And Millenium just pick up easy kills, running down Mixer, grabbing the dragon, and a bunch of towers. Now Mr. Rolls is going to die.
Oh, Mr. Rolls once again caught out. Actually, Cotonex may die. No, he is not. He's got a charge on his ultimate there. That will get him, at least for now, into safety, but the rest of the Supa Haku are closing in. Cotonex actually going to flash away from this, and somehow Millenium are turning this one back around. There's a good shockwave finally coming out of Selfie. Kurt will fall to that one, and they did manage to get Cotonex in the end.
Now Millenium playing a little bit over-aggressive. I don't think they needed to be that deep. They got some towers and some kills. Mimer's not done yet. He doesn't have flash available. I don't think he's going to catch them, but it's not going to stop him trying. Burnout's going to make sure that ends the chase. But at the end of the day, Millenium sticking around a little too over-aggressive. Mimer's not stopping. Well, no, he is. And I think that the Archangel Star plus Rod of Ages has given Kerp some confidence on that champion, and you see how much damage Ryze already has. That is just going to keep scaling and keep growing.
What my fear for this game is, though, we've seen that those last 2 fights, that twice we saw them making rough decisions in terms of what they're going to do. Jerry is completely out of position here. We'll throw the solar flare down, but we'll see if anyone can actually get it. And Kerp's going to come around the side. He does blow up Mixer, but I think he might end up falling himself for it. Selfie now going to be focused. Creatine running right in the back. Impaler actually off inside of the Dragon Pit, and with Kevin and Creatine chasing down Mimer, I'm not sure that he'll be able to get off. Uses the slice and then the dive. That's a good slow from Mr. Rolls, but here comes Cotonex on the side. Can he now get Mr. Rolls? He flashes away, but Cotonex got the speed boost there as he goes invisible once again. The slow's enough to get him the double.
4 kills, all thanks to Jay Reed holding members of Supa Haku in place. Yes, Jay Reed gave up his life. Maybe it's a little bit overkill, but his death allowed the rest of Supa Haku to stay there long enough for Millenium to just completely surround them. Both teleports were burned on that engage, and Millenium grabbed themselves more kills. It's now 16-11. This is the bloodiest game in the LCS that we've seen in a while, because both teams just keep going at it. I think when you consider both of these teams are facing promotion tournament, there's less pressure to play perfectly, and they're just playing uninhibited, very aggressive, trying to force objectives and force themselves into a powerful position.
And that can also come back to bite you. We'll see if Millenium can really do something that they've struggled, which is having a lead, keeping the lead, number one, and not making mistakes so that you end up losing it, and then trying to close out games. That's not been the strong point for Millenium so far this year. Right now they have about a 1,500 gold lead, and they're gonna be maybe faced with a face check scenario where they have to go towards Baron. We can see that the backside was cleared out. Actually, Millenium are already there using those sweepers to clear out and actually do what I would say is the smart thing here and move straight up the middle. Selfie caught out completely, and that is Creatine getting the kill for free.
Yeah, in a turret now available. Solar Flare was used, so at the very least that hard engage isn't there, but Millenium will be happy with this. Going to continue the push, knowing that Selfie's not there. Remember, Shockwave is available, so if Selfie can lock up members of Millenium, that could be their way, and actually that's their only only way in. The rest of Millenium, they're now on the inhibitor turrets.
And Selfie's dead, so that's not their way in for a while here. They need him to respawn, as Kevin says, okay, I'll tank it up. And the rest of the team don't quite realize that that was going to happen, and he just takes a free turret hit. We'll see if they want to push in from this one. There's Dragon coming up in 2 minutes. Damage, the wave clear coming out there for Millenium allows them to get another hit or two off on towards the turret, but we see they've backed away now. They want to get some vision control over this bottom side of the Super Hot Crew jungle. The
moment you take that inner turret and you have free access on this part of the jungle, the smart decision is to ward it up. Kerp has thrown down his ult and he's going for Mima.
Be able to lock him up though. That's the tanky man as Mixer going to get caught in the shockwave. Only brought Jerry into the fight there. Selfie going low. Cottonex actually diving to him. Mima doing good interference work actually in the middle of the fight. But he is going to go down in the end, and that will be a 1-for-1. Cottonex also took away the blue.
Yeah, he did steal that objective just before the fight broke out. Off screen, we also see Mixer picking up a kill on Jerry. Now, because Millenium have got that tanky top laner down from the Super Hot Crew, they're on the inner bottom turret. This is going to be the 6th tower of the game. Super Hot Crew are going to try to defend, but they could get turned on.
And Baylor actually coming flaring out of the base there with Mr. Rolls, but they've turned around Mixer. I didn't even realize that Mixer was there, and I don't think the rest of his team were really coordinated on that one.
So, as an aside, as we've got a little bit of time, Mixer has been very outspoken in the recent weeks, saying how he's on track to break Kiwi Kid's all-time death record for the LCS. We'll get to those numbers in a second, as this is going to be Mixer just getting popped from the side. This is a perfect replay to highlight my point. At 6 deaths in this game, Mixer currently has 111 deaths this split. The record is 126 deaths by Kiwi Kid as a top laner in North America. If Mixer picks up 1 more death this game, he is on par with the per game averages to tie that record. For Mixer to truly go above and beyond and claim the undisputed title as most killed pro in the LCS, he needs to break that average of 7 deaths per game.
Well, we're 27 minutes in. Something tells me that's not his last death that we've just seen there. But they may go and prove me wrong. Right now, one thing's for sure is that they're losing another Dragon. Millenium's going to destroy that one without any contest at all from the Super Hot Crew. That's their 2nd out of 4. So 50-50 on the Dragons. Millenium having the last 2. Dragon worth more as we go along. Definite advantage for Millenium.
So Millenium now need to play the ward game and pull Super Hot Crew towards them. If Millenium try to bait out a Baron, you can force Super Hot Crew's hand to engage on you. And with Shyvana as well as Kha'Zix and Leona that can jump over the wall and a pretty good range on spells from Ryze and Sivir, if anyone checks that wall by the Baron Pit, Millenium can actually blow them up very, very effectively. The question is, what does Super Hot Crew do to defend the siege? There's 6,000 gold down on a composition that gets outscaled. So the only way for them to break that gold lead and bring themselves back into the game is to catch members of Millenium out and blow them up quickly. They need an ace in the hole into Shockwave to remove a Sivir, a Kha'Zix, or a Ryze before they can continue fighting.
Mixer getting a little bit close there, actually just spotting Kerp as he comes around, and Cottonex actually waiting off to the side. That's something I have to give him real credit for so far, as actually they're going to go in for this one. Kerp going to get Shockwave, actually caught 2 of them. This could be a decent fight for the Super Hot Crew, but actually they're falling quickly. Mima goes down, and there is a Millenium bug at the back, taking down Evelyn. Mr. Ross is going to fall as well. That will be a 4-for-2 in favor of Millenium. Cottonex not done just yet, he just pushes Mima away.
That was as near a perfect a start as you could get. Super Hot Crew catching up multiple members of Millenium. The problem was, once Millenium re-engaged with their full roster, they shredded through the HP bars of Super Hot Crew. They were too far behind, and there is so much damage. Cottonex has got a Last Whisper and a Hex Drinker. Take a look at how Cottonex realizes something's up. He's peeling around the side because Cottonex wants to get on either Selfie or Mr. Rolls. 3-man Shockwave, they all get hit by the Piltover Peacemaker, and Cottonex just completely zoning out Selfie. To be fair, Oriana did his job. He did as best as he could, and because Mr. Rolls was focused down as the next target, it just meant that consistent damage over time was not available for Super Hot Crew. Millenium ended up winning the team fight pretty convincingly, considering they got caught out so horribly at the beginning.
What's their next one? Baylor. For the respawn coming here and start off that red buff, which looks like it will be given over to the AD carry, Mr. Rolls, who now Bloodthirster, Phantom Dancer, and the Last Whisper. Over on the other side, We do have Bloodthirster, that last Whisper static shift, but there's a BF sword and a pickaxe in there right now for Creaton, so he's working his way nicely into that Infinity Edge. Going to give him a lot of damage, although you have to say if he gets nuked down as quickly as he did in that last one, he was caught as the second man in that shockwave as that fight started. He needs to be a little bit more careful about his positioning, otherwise they're not going to have anything from those extra items.
Yeah, I agree with you. The one thing that you do have to highlight is how well Kotinex has played his Kha'Zix this game. Every team fight, he's managing to find the right targets. He's running amok in the Super Hot Crew composition, and this is probably one of the most effective Kha'Zix games we've seen. He's finally going to get focused down, leaps away.
Leaps away, but gets hooked back in there. He is going to get shockwaved onto, but look at that, he's still alive. All that damage reduction keeping him alive for a hell of a long time, and now the Super Hot Crew, one by one, being ripped to shreds. There's a flash over by Gurb. Mima the last man standing, and he will fall as well, and that will be a 5-for-1, an ace for Millenium.
With the amount of damage Millenium have right now, they may even push down towards those Nexus turrets. Kotinex got once again caught out. He was in no man's land and took all of the damage from the Super Hot Crew. Survived long enough for Millenium to get their AoE down onto Super Hot Crew. And with the Rise AoE and the stun from Leona, it just meant Super Hot Crew just got melted by the heat of Millenium. Inhibitor secured. Death time is fairly low on the side of Super Hot Crew, so a wise play by Millenium. They're going to back away, spend the gold that they've earned, probably just keep playing this Baron bait, because Super Hot Crew have face-checked twice. It's worked out both times. Why not keep doing it?
Plenty of gold to spend as well there. We just saw the totals that they were going back home with, and there is the Infinity Edge actually going to be coming out for Sivir. On the other side, Selfie did get himself the Void Staff. There's a Locket of the Iron Solari in there. You have to wonder though if those items themselves are going to be enough, because that, and in fact the fight before it, were very one-sided, despite Selfie catching both the AP and the AD carry there in that shockwave. The fight just before didn't work their way. Question is now, can they're going to have to pick someone off, and the fact that Kotinex survived so long in the middle of the team is a very worrying sign for the Super Hot Crew.
Yeah, it really is. The problem for the Super Hot Crew is their opponents are too tanky. Shyvana gets so much additional stats. She's getting that level 18 points, and Tafisha pointed out earlier, it's 1,400 gold worth of armor and magic resist that Kevin picks up for free just in Dragon form. Now we'll get to the stats in a second as Millenium. If they throw down a Solar Flare, Super Hot Crew can't do anything about it. Millenium deciding to peel away. They're not going for Baron. If Super Hot Crew don't run immediately, they run at risk of getting caught out. Here come Millenium.
From Millenium, Mima gets himself to the front. There is a talisman pop. Who are they going to go for? Mixer just puts himself at the front there. That's a free kill. Kotinex going low. Kevin's fairly low as well, but now that the rest of the team are here, surely they'll be able to pick them off one by one. Kotinex is going to get in front of him. Pushed onto by Impaler. Oh, almost getting the kill onto him there. Impaler did get that one, and that actually leaves us with a 1-for-1 now, with Mr. Ralls running for his life, trying to get himself executed. I'm afraid that's not going to happen. Kevin comes around the top. He's now unstoppable at 5-1-16 on Shyvana.
Yeah, at this point in time, I think there's very little that Super Hot Crew can do to make up that massive, massive deficit that they are behind. Millenium maybe saving that ultimate from Sivir just a little bit too late. Had they run a tad quicker, that could have gone somewhat different, but nevertheless, Millenium grabbed themselves 2 kills out of the deal. They only lost Kotinex, and now they've got 4-man stack. Look at the vision they've got around this Baron pit. They're just going to keep forcing Super Hot Crew's hands. The one thing that we have seen from Millenium in the past is they tend to struggle in this mid-game at closing out the game. When it gets to this point, Millenium, it looks like they're just looking for more kills. They're trying to use Creaton as bait here. And the problem is, Millenium need to turn those kills to objectives. Otherwise, Super Hot Crew could find a perfect fight. Mixer's going to die again.
Mixer is probably going to die. You're not wrong with that one, I think. He tries the flay, but Kevin dominating now. And that will be 6-1-16 and double-figure deaths for Mixer. He's getting closer.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mixer needs 21 deaths to claim that title. He has 10 in this game alone with 2 games remaining. That is not a good position to be in. However, Millenium are in a great position. They have nearly double the kills. They're going to grab themselves a Baron buff. With the stats and the gold, it is a insurmountable advantage for the Super Hot Crew. Mima's going to go down, and here's potentially another fight.
Yeah, going out for Mima. Actually, Kotinex is just running riot at the backside. Impaler and Selfie both going very, very low. Selfie actually walks into the path of J-Ree, but Kotinex has come back, scanning out the wards, getting rid of the vision, and actually it doesn't matter with vision or not here. Actually, there's a ward there just on the bottom side at the entry, so they do have vision in this one, but there is a pushover from J-Ree. The rest of the team will just climb out the Baron pit, pick up another one onto Selfie, and now they look again to finish off the Baron. Impaler is still waiting. Impaler has flash. He's not going to be quick enough, and he's going to die. Zenith Blade landing onto him. Continex blows him off.
Continex, before that Baron started, was actually zoning away both Impaler and Selfie. Selfie was forced to use the Shockwave just to defend against this Kha'Zix that is 10, 5, and 10. Millenium with the Baron buff and 3 members of Super Hot Crew down turn their attention to this inhibitor. We see a teleport from Kevin as well as Curve. This could be the final push.
This could be the final push. Still 25 seconds for Impaler, 16 seconds for Selfie. Mixer's going to get caught up once again. That's another death. Kill number 11 onto Mixer. There is the first Nexus turret. I think the rest of the Super Hot Crew are just going to sit back and let this one happen. Millenium, despite having a terrible season so far, picking things up here in the last week and picking up the victory over the Super Hot Crew.